This eerie image is believed to be the final photo ever taken by 12-year-old Jared Negretti after he vanished in the mountains of Southern California. Back in July of 1991, Jared joined a Boy Scout hiking trip to Mount San Gorgonio, the tallest peak in Southern California. It was supposed to be his very first overnight backpacking adventure. But as the group climbed higher into the mountains, Jared began falling behind. By the evening, he was exhausted and struggling to keep pace with the others. Instead of staying with him, the troop leader continued ahead with the rest of the scouts, leaving Jared alone on the mountain. Later, another group of hikers spotted him descending the trail by himself in a dangerous way, cutting directly down steep slopes instead of following the safer switchbacks. They warned him that he could get seriously hurt and later informed the troop leader about what they had seen. But by the time the scouts returned, Jared was gone. A massive search operation was launched almost immediately. Rescue teams spent days combing through over 130 square miles of wilderness, searching for any sign of the missing boy. Then, 3 days later, investigators found Jared's disposable camera. Most of the photos were ordinary hiking pictures, but the final image stood out from all the others. It was a close-up photo Jared appeared to take of himself in complete darkness after he had already disappeared. The photo proved he survived for hours after going missing, but it revealed nothing about where he actually was. For more than 2 weeks, thousands of volunteers searched the mountains non-stop, yet Jared was never found. No body, no backpack, no explanation. To this day, nobody knows whether he got lost, suffered a fatal fall, encountered a wild animal, or crossed paths with someone far more dangerous in the wilderness. In June of 1989, a woman walking through a convenience store parking lot in Florida noticed a Polaroid photo lying on the ground. At first, she assumed it was trash, but after picking it up, she was horrified by what she saw. The image showed a young girl and a little boy lying in the back of a white van with duct tape covering their mouths. Their hands appeared to be restrained behind them. The woman immediately called police because she had just seen a white van matching the one in the photo parked nearby moments earlier. Investigators quickly released the disturbing image to the public, and before long, people began connecting it to 2 missing children from different states. One of them was 19-year-old Tara Calico, a college student from New Mexico, who vanished during her daily bike ride in September of 1988. On the morning she disappeared, Tara left home riding along Highway 47 just like she always did, but this time, she never came back. Search teams later discovered pieces of her cassette player scattered along the roadside, leading investigators to suspect she may have been abducted while trying to leave clues behind. Witnesses also reported seeing an old pickup truck following closely behind her shortly before she vanished. Then, 9 months later, the mysterious Polaroid surfaced in Florida. Tara's mother became convinced the girl in the picture was her daughter. The resemblance was striking, and the girl was holding a book written by one of Tara's favorite authors. Another family believed the little boy in the image was their missing son, Michael Henley, who disappeared during a camping trip months earlier. But the case became even stranger after Michael's remains were later discovered in the wilderness, proving he had likely died from exposure and was never abducted at all. That revelation cast doubt over the entire Polaroid. Some investigators believed the girl really was Tara. Others argued the facial features didn't match closely enough. For decades, the mystery remained unsolved. Then, in 2023, authorities announced they finally had enough evidence to submit the case for possible criminal charges, though the names involved remain sealed to this day. One theory claims Tara was accidentally struck by a group of teenagers who panicked, kidnapped her, and later killed her to cover up the incident. But if that theory is true, then the terrifying question still remains: who exactly was the girl in the Polaroid photo? In June of 1988, 22-year-old Matthew Chase left his apartment late at night to deposit a paycheck at a nearby ATM. It should have taken him less than 15 minutes. He never came home. Earlier that evening, Matt had gone out to dinner with his roommate Teresa before returning home close to midnight. Realizing he was low on money, Matt decided to immediately deposit his paycheck instead of waiting until morning. Teresa even told him to take her car since it was late and asked him to grab cat food from a nearby store on the way back. But after an hour passed with no sign of Matt, concern quickly started turning into panic. The next morning, Teresa and her brother contacted the bank pretending to be Matt and discovered something alarming. Several failed ATM withdrawals had been attempted overnight, including one for $280, even though Matt didn't have anywhere near that amount in his account. It immediately suggested someone else was forcing him to use the ATM. Police soon located surveillance images from one of the machines, capturing a grainy photo of Matt standing at the ATM while another man hovered closely behind him. That image became the center of the investigation. Days later, Matt's bank card was used again after his paycheck cleared, allowing someone to withdraw even more money before the account was frozen. Then, weeks later, Teresa's car was discovered abandoned, not far from the original ATM. Inside was a blue bandana connected to a local gang called the East Side Playboys. Months later, the case turned tragic when hikers discovered Matt's body in a ravine in Pasadena. He had been shot in the head shortly after the abduction. For decades, the identity of the man in the ATM photo remained unknown. But in 2018, investigators finally announced they had solved the mystery. According to police, the man behind Matt was a 20-year-old gang member named David Mesa, also known as Bear. Detectives later confirmed the identification through David's former girlfriend, but the case still left behind major unanswered questions. Why would someone kidnap and murder a man over only a few $100s? Was David acting alone? And if David died in a gang shootout only days later, who moved the abandoned car weeks after the murder? Even after being officially solved, Matthew Chase's case still feels deeply unsettling. In March of 1998, 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley boarded a Caribbean cruise with her parents and brother for what was supposed to be a relaxing family vacation. Instead, she disappeared without a trace. On the night before she vanished, Amy spent hours dancing at the ship's nightclub with her brother. Multiple crew members reportedly paid unusual attention to her throughout the evening, including members of the ship's band. Around 3:30 in the morning, Amy and her brother finally returned to their cabin and sat together on the balcony talking before he went to sleep. A couple hours later, Amy's father briefly checked outside and saw her resting peacefully on a lounge chair. But when he woke up again 30 minutes later, Amy was gone. At first, the ship's crew suggested she may have accidentally fallen overboard, but Amy's shoes, cigarettes, and personal belongings were all still inside the room. Then things became even stranger. Amy's brother later said a member of the cruise ship's band approached him offering condolences for Amy's disappearance before the family had publicly explained the situation to anyone. The musician, Alistair Douglas, quickly became a major suspect. However, after questioning and a polygraph test, he was eventually cleared. As the investigation continued, witnesses on the island of Curaçao began reporting sightings of a woman matching Amy's description. One Canadian tourist even claimed he saw Amy walking on a beach alongside two men and insisted he was absolutely certain it was her. Years later, an American Navy officer came forward saying he encountered a woman in a Caribbean brothel who identified herself as Amy Bradley and begged him for help. Then, in 2005, photos surfaced online showing a woman many believed looked eerily similar to an older Amy. These clues fueled theories that Amy had been kidnapped and trafficked shortly after the cruise ship docked. Still, no evidence was ever strong enough to prove what actually happened. Amy Bradley was officially declared legally dead in 2010, but her family continues searching for answers, believing there's still a chance she survived that night and was taken off the ship alive. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, share this video with your friends, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss any upcoming uploads.